Okay, all right, next slide. Progression to the 20th century. Okay, so 20th century is just 1901 to 1999. All right, so progression to the 20th century. Thank you. This is a book, I think we ended up with reading that quote out of the Negro slave revolts, and it was talking about how either, to prove to the black man that through the Bible that you're either cursed or you are the serpent. You are the actual beast. Okay. This book was done by Charles Carroll. Okay, and the title is "The Negro, a Beast or in the Image of God? The Reasoner of the Age, the Revelator of the Century, the Bible as it is, the Negro and his relation to the human family, the Negro, not the son of Ham." Okay, so Charles Carroll. Now, this book, I wanted to let everybody know, was entered into the office of the Library of Congress in 1900. So let's read a quote on what Charles Carroll believed. "White is the creature whom God designed should perform the mental necessary to subdue the earth. The Negro, in common with the rest of the animals, made his appearance upon the earth prior to the creation of man." Page 102. So, what Charles Carroll is saying is that in the creation, in Genesis 1, on the sixth day, Yah made man. But on the previous days, he made the beasts of the field. In a way, the beasts of the field is when he made the Negro, who is the Negro, not the son of Ham. So this was Charles, and once again, this was entered to the office of the Library of Congress in 1900. This book, I think, comes out in 1849. Yeah, I know. It's an amazing thing. All right, second is quote. When God's plan of creation and the drift of the Bible are properly understood, it will be found that teaching of Scripture upon this, as upon every other subject, harmonize with those of science. So remember earlier I was looking at the previous guys, going back to Carl von Linnaeus in the 1700s, and some are science, Bible, a little bit of both, and was Huxley that said Darwinism is the guide to bridge science and the Bible. Right? The common denominator is the same. Okay, get my Worcestershire sauce. Okay, but to bridge. Okay, so he's saying that if you understand the Scripture, that as upon every subject harmonized with those of science. Okay, the Negro is the only anthropoid or man-like ape, and that the Gibeon orang, I think it was talking like orangutan. This is like written like in 1800, so. Chimpanzee and gorilla are merely Negro-like apes. Hence, to recognize the Negro as a man and a brother, why would he say that? Well, what do we say in Christianity? Through Christ, you're my brother. Thus, the modern Christian, like the atheist, takes man whom God created in his own image and takes the Negro whom God made after his kind, the ape kind, and places them in the same family as different races of one species of animal. Page 87. Once again, this particular book, Charles Carroll, was entered to the Library of Congress in 1900. I was born in 80. I was born 80 years later. So this is the progression. We see the progression going into the 20th century. Okay, we see the progression going to the 20th century. Now, we're going to fast forward a little bit. We're going to look at eugenics. Okay, eugenics, particularly eugenics in America. This was a global practice, but eugenics in America. It's a set of beliefs and practices which aim at improving the genetic quality of the human population. Okay, so as somebody who's a eugenicist, I want to make humanity better. And all these people that we've looked at and their views and their thought, they're biologists, they're naturalists, they're geologists, they're scientists, they're anthropologists, they are this dignitary. this passes down to now the eugenics. And we're going to make the humanity better. Okay? So it's a global practice with gathering and passing information. In its earlier stages, in the United States, Germany, and other countries, they've worked on this regardless of military and diplomatic differences. So we could be at a war, but if I'm a eugenicist in America and I'm a eugenicist in Germany, we telegraphing and we sending kites to one another. So we have all this stuff going on regardless of if it's World War I, World War II, whatever the scenario is. We are cohesive on this common thread of making humanity better. Remember the one guy, the French novelist who was pushing the Aryan stock. That sound familiar, right? That what Adolf Hitler was saying? Aryan nation, the pure Aryan, the Nordic, the Anglo-Saxon. Sound familiar, right? Sir Francis Galton in the 1880s based this from biological studies, and social status is due to superior genetic makeup. Okay, so he got a bunch of money, he got a bunch of cheese, his mama had money, his daddy had money, and he's sitting up there in his penthouse in Europe, and he said, my social status, I'm superior. Biological, white, it was everything about science at this time is white is right. Right? So this is superior genetic makeup. Selective breeding will allow the evolution and domination of the Nordic, Germanic, Anglo-Saxon people. I'll say it again. Selective breeding. Selective breeding will allow Nordic, Germanic, Anglo-Saxon people to dominate the planet. Okay. So selective sterilization targeted the poor, disabled, and immoral. Because with eugenicists, laws began to get passed.
Abortion. That's a fact.
Planned Parenthood. So, selective sterilization, right? So it's going to be dressed up as, you know, so-and-so is a Down syndrome. They don't need to reproduce. So-and-so mentally ill. They don't need to produce. But the true target of sterilization would be who? I would probably suggest the same people who've been the denominator of every topic going back to 1700. It'll be the same one. Okay? Because now we're at a point in 1880s that what has happened? The Civil War. So, and we're going to look at some stuff about, I don't want to jump the gun, but Civil War's over. So now I have all these people, they're just multiplying. They're multiplying. I got all these people, and there's no slavery no more. So what can we do? What tactic and what strategies, what power do I have? Okay? So, corporations backed eugenics. Rockefeller Foundation. Illuminati. Rockefeller Foundation. They backed eugenics. J.H. Kellogg. They're great eating them Frosted Flakes. Corn Flakes. J.H. Kellogg. Carnegie Institute. Early 20th century. State laws were passed as early as 1896. Connecticut, first state. For a variety of eugenic rooted gains. So one state, Connecticut, then I think I got my notes. Another state, Indiana, California, and they were just, so by the time you get to like by the time you get like to the Civil Rights Movement, you have a lot of laws that are geared towards sterilizing, birth control, birth prevention, all kinds of stuff. And they did it real slick. Well, you know, so-and-so's sick. We don't want to hurt the human population. See how smooth that is? That's smooth, right? Psalm 83:3. They have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. Can somebody, Psalm 83:3, they have taken crafty counsel against thy people and consulted against thy hidden ones. We're going to turn to really quick to Exodus, because we know what, as believers, that nothing new
Under the sun.
under the sun. Let's turn to Exodus 1. Exodus 1. Show you how Satan works. Because Hasatan, who is not an equal with Yah, is not equal, they're not,
It's like blue.
is not a Spider-Man and Wolverine battling it out, and this one's got powers and that one's got powers. Like, not even, no. But Hasatan has craftily tried to eradicate Israel. So in everybody in Exodus? Exodus 1 and 16. Can somebody give me that? 16 and 17?
Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water and filled the troughs.
Exodus 1.
And
Let's go. Exodus 1.
he said, when you do the office of a midwife to the Hebrew women and see them upon the stools, if it be a son, then ye shall kill him. But if it be a daughter, then she shall live. But the midwives feared God and did not as the king of Egypt commanded them, but saved the men children alive.
So a plan of Hasatan is to eradicate the male or the seed of Yisrael. So in eugenics, or the eugenicists, especially in America, it's geared towards the poor. And also the immoral. So who's immoral? I wonder what guidelines and criteria these guys who are out protesting and talking about I cannot read his son's handwriting. Should he have children? I mean, these people are out there protesting and protesting for eugenics and for sterilization of certain people. So who determines the poor and who determines immorality? And then the poor, and also the disabled, because you got to have a smoke screen. So Hasatan is all into eradicating Israel. Doesn't matter the time or the era, he'll use the laws of the land, which are going to be opposite of the laws of Yah. They're going to be opposite. So he used the law, because there was a credence put out in Egypt, wasn't it? Right, a law by Paro, mouth of evil. Well, the law started being passed in 1896. And Planned Parenthood is booming today. I want to say today, if you're under 18, you don't need your parents' permission. If you're under 18, you don't need your parents' permission to get an abortion. Right? If you've ever watched a Ma'afa, great documentary, Ma'afa 21, where they have phone conversations where people have called to donate money to pay for someone's abortion. And if you could you do it for someone who's young and black? We just don't want to. And the operator was like, oh yeah, I know. Now, she didn't know that she was getting recorded, but, So, but that was just common rhetoric. Okay, common rhetoric, common talk. Okay, so we have these corporations that are behind it. So when we watch our politicians go back and forth and, one party is pro-life, other one's pro-choice, if they're pro-nothing but money. They're nothing but money. So why do our communities get wrapped up and tied up in this stuff? Is because you're the pawn on a chessboard. During certain eras, I need your vote. Certain areas, I don't need your vote. Right? We'll look at that here at some point. But that is the eugenics in America. We'll look at this a little bit more. And I know this would probably offend some people, but I don't care. Because the truth, was that further? The truth shall do what? Set you free. But like Carter G. Woodson said, some folks want to stay in their little dumb box. They want to stay in that box. So, eugenics, widely accepted in the United States academic community. By 1928, there were 376 separate universities that had courses in the United States, leading schools. 376 separate university courses in America. By 1928, you know, morals and family and everybody go to church and all this stuff. 1928, they had 376 courses all over America, enrolling more than 20,000 students, which included eugenics in the curriculum. All right. Very true, but sad to say. The Negro aristocracy. The Negro aristocracy were supportive of eugenics. We had, in I think pre-Civil War, pre-Civil War, the Brown Paper Bag Society. Okay, we have the bourgeois, the boule. Boule just means hidden or advisor to the king. Sigma Pi Phi was on the rise. Oh, I'm sorry, and Sigma Pi Phi. They were on the rise and believed in elevating the best Negroes. So if you've ever heard the phrase, the talented 10th, if you ever heard the phrase, talented 10th, that was coined by W.E.B. Du Bois. Okay, the talented 10th. That comes from him because he and her was cool. I don't mean together like a relationship, but the views of a eugenics, which was originally was what to quality of the human population. W.E.B. Du Bois, when he was at his height, who was Du Bois at odds with? Somebody else. He was at odds with someone who was another black leader who's never talked about Black History Month. Total opposite of Du Bois. Starts with an M though. Marcus Garvey. Excellent. So Marcus Garvey was pushing Pan-Africanism. He was talking about, yo, getting ourselves together, pack our bags, we're going to Liberia. We out. W. Du Bois was like, no. So when we read earlier in the Miseducation of the Negro how certain, you got something?
No.
Certain people might get a position, a high position is given to them, and I don't want to let go. Right? If we ever seen like the little skits or the little maybe shows or something referencing the field Negro and the house Negro, right? The field Negro's outside. He's in the hot. It's heat. He getting the scraps. The house Negro's in the house. It's cool. Better clothes. I get some food from the table. Might be leftovers. I get food from the table. So that dynamic, once we get out of slavery, and we have to decide how to, all these people, so many people, because they just kept multiplying. They just kept having babies. We killing them, and they just keep. Don't get it. I don't get it. Somebody got it. I think somebody don't. Oh, sorry. Wrong button. So this is called the Talented 10th. W.B. Du Bois and Henry Thomas Watt. Here's Henry Thomas Watt here. With a multitude of black intellectuals from Tuskegee, Howard, they pushed this new attack on the inferior. So on the rest of the other black folks. They led this charge. Okay. There was a gentleman right here. His name is Henry Menton. Henry McKee Menton. He was a co-founder of the Sigma Pi Phi. And Dr. Wesley quotes him on page 28. He says, Menton wanted to create an organization which would partake in the tenets, basis, root of skull and bones at Yale. Now that ain't David Wesley. You go look it up. David Wesley, History of Sigma Pi Phi. This man here, co-founder. Menton wanted to create an organization which would partake in the tenets, basis, root of skull and bones at Yale. So they wanted to mimic that for them, like how the Bush family and former Senator John McCain how they have their skull and bone society. We have our Negro aristocrats wanted to do the same thing. And goes back to that Town of the 10th, the brown paper bag society, but the psyche of the Negro in America. So there's always been the idea of what's that phrase? Crab in a bucket, stepping on someone else's head to be above or in a better situation. Okay. So this lady here, Margaret Sanger, very strong feminist. Okay. But her passion, her love, her passion, the fire in her bones was to get rid of blacks. Okay. So this is the puppet of the eugenicists, because the Planned Parenthood is based off of her, but she's their puppet. Okay. But she was a happy puppet. She didn't need too many strings to be pulled. All right. So the mask and perfume was pretty much, this is for the mentally ill, the deformed. They should not produce, but these people, their desire was to keep black people from reproducing, period. Okay. She befriended pastors in black communities. So she would go all over to black pastors. You know, obviously, I got some in my pocket or my purse. Come on, we know what cream is. Cash rule everything around me. Cream get the money. So she would befriend pastors in black to preach about self-care. Don't worry about bringing a baby into this world, because you got to get yourself together. You got to walk back to Jericho, and how you going to go with 4 and 5 babies on your back, and they crying. Because the way the system was set up, as we read, was that somebody put in position to kind of control the others. So whatever so-and-so say, I'm going to do what he say. We see that today. When it comes to Yah and His Word. When it comes to the instructions. When it comes to Mashiach. We see that. I don't care what you say. My pastor didn't say that. That's what we got to break from.
Amen.
Think. Yah gave you a brain. When you think, neurons and light fires up. We don't think. We don't want to think. We're scared to think. So W.B. Du Bois, in his lectures, he would push quality over quantity. Town of the 10th man. Now, I will say this. I don't like a lot of stuff that he said, but what he did do at the end, he made a lot of changes. And if you know about W.B. Du Bois, he got up out of here. He got tired of fighting with these people. Because you can't sleep with the devil. How you gonna go to bed with the devil and try to fix a situation? You can't sell your soul. You can't give in and not expect. So he's up leaving and moving to Africa and doing some things like that at the end. Okay, but he lectured a lot on quality over quantity. This was an inside job, post-Civil War and pre-Civil Rights. Just after the Civil War and before the Civil Rights Movement even started. Okay. So this placed blacks in a quandary in the 20th century, and there was a common ground found against blacks. Eugenics and Planned Parenthood are active today. Let that settle. So this is still going on. Now, when we talk about like brothers like Wyatt and Du Bois and even Henry Menton, and why would they do that to their own community? We're going to look at Maccabees, First Maccabees. And I'm going to read this to you, Maccabees 1 and verse 13. 11. In those days there were out of Israel wicked men who pursued many, saying, let us go and cut a covenant with the heathen that are round about us. For since we departed from them, we have had much sorrow. So this device pleased them well. Then certain of the people were so forward herein that they went to the king, who gave them license to do after the ordinance of the heathen. Whereupon they built a place of exercise at Jerusalem, according to the customs of the heathen, made themselves uncircumcised, forsook the holy covenant, and joined themselves to the heathen, and were sold to do mischief. So that's nothing new amongst the people of Israel, to have people in Israel to sell out, or double cross, or betray Israel, or to lead the people right, to be someone in that prestige position and have that position, and instead of taking people to Yah, you take them to hell. Nothing new. Maccabees, 2nd chapter. Now when he had left speaking these words, there came one of the Yahudim in the sight of all to sacrifice on the altar, which was at Modin, according to the king's commandment. Now, we went on this during Hanukkah, and then they charged him up. They end up killing that man, okay, for doing that. So, but point being is that this is really not new. It's sad, but it's not new. Something that has always been like that. There are something like that with Dr. King in the same kind of way. But once again, in the end, if you read his book, The Radical King, he was going this way, and then he went that way. And once he went that way, they sniped him in Memphis. Okay, so as long as you play your role, you are right. But once you get outside the role, because what it say that you could have deal with the heathen, you could have covenanted with the king to get what you want, right? Because what do these people want? To have an organization which will partake in attendance based as the root of Skull and Bones at Yale. Now I ain't write that. I typed it, but I could just quote it from somebody else. So academia, check. Church, check. What about the rest of society? I don't know. I can't read. I can't read. I ain't got no way to church. I don't know what the rest of society. How can we get to the rest of the society? How can we get them to have a mindset like everybody else? 19th and 20th century entertainment.
That mess right there makes me puke.
So from 1801 to 1999. So we have blackface. You can't read a so-and-so's book, or you ain't got a way to church. You can come to show free. Bring kids too. So blackface was roles whites would play depicting blacks, lasted at least 100 years. Died out in America, but continued in Great Britain.
Wow.
Continued in Great Britain till the black and white minstrel show ended in 1978. They got so much respect for you. So one of the questions was in the beginning was, who are the blacks? So when we're going through all these different slides, we are looking at what is being portrayed. So like you have two groups of people. You have the one people who is inferior, and this is making you and continuing to stay inferior by putting these visuals, by these teachings, by these preachings over and over and over and over and over, and then your child is born, and over, and then their child, and over and over. And then you have the other aspect of it, where you're getting the same programming in you to make you feel like you're better, you're smarter, you're better with money, you're better with this, you're better with that, you're more superior, you're God's chosen, you're this, look, Jesus looked like me. Like I didn't put any images, I'm not going to do that, but Jesus looked like me. Look at that picture. So the minstrels, the blackface, the dark skin, the big old lips. This was a postcard I found. Go see the Imperial Minstrels at the Coliseum. Cartoons. So once this stuff died out, you get into the cartoons. Boom, got me. Bam, Mickey Mouse. Bam, Bugs Bunny. Bam, Tasmanian Devil. What's significant about the Tasmanian Devil? What island is beyond Australia? Tasmania. And you won't believe what happened when the British went down there. These good old Christians, they went down there and they killed all of them. Burnt them up. And you know what Yah said in his word? He said, the children of Israel, I'm going to search you out. I'm going to find you. And I'm going to utterly destroy you. So when we talk about the Tasmanians, they're gone. Not playing. They're gone. The last 6 that remained, they had them like in, zoos or circuses or whatever. And folks had mental breakdown and they died. And it's okay. Right? There was no justice, no judgment. It's okay. So that's what we think. We're gonna look at some more stuff here. So these comic skits, acts, dancing, music, all this stuff was mockery, mocked blacks. Okay? Portraying them as lazy, dumb, oversexed, goofy. Right? But that's what Carl von Linnaeus said back in the 1700s. Okay? So say it went off into cartoons and had a cartoon with the Mickey Mouse and the white hands and so on and so forth. Okay? But I surrender. I can't take it no more. I surrender. I surrender. And I just gotta drop to my knees and I gotta pray. I can't take this no more. Right? Same book. Look at this picture. Same book. These people have the same book, praying to the same God, and the same results over and over and over. So, brother over here, he praying for some change. I need change. I need you to intervene. I need change. And you know what they be praying for? Change. I'm praying for change. Same book, same God, same. So what is it that we don't get? That we don't understand? Isaiah 1st chapter. That brother praying for change, and they said we pray for change too. But money. Got the Johnny Manziel going on. Isaiah. Isaiah 1st chapter. Isaiah 1 and 2. And it reads, "Hear, O heavens, and give ear, O earth, for the Lord has spoken. I have nourished and brought up children, and they have rebelled against me. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib. But Israel doth not know, my people does not consider." Now I'm praying for change, and he praying for change, and he didn't change, and I really ain't getting no change. The ox knoweth his owner, and the ass his master's crib, but Israel doth not know, my people doth not consider. A sinful nation, a people laden with iniquity, a seed of evildoers, children that are corrupters. They have forsaken the Lord. They have provoked the Holy One of Israel to anger. They are gone away backward. Why should ye be stricken any more? Ye will revolt more and more. The whole head is sick, and the whole heart faint. From the sole of the foot even unto the head, there is no soundness in it, but wounds and bruises and putrefying sores. They have not been closed, neither bound up, neither mollified with ointment. Your country is desolate. Your cities are burned with fire. Your land, strangers devour in your presence, and it's desolate as overthrown by strangers. And the daughter of Zion is left as a cottage in a vineyard, as a lodge in a garden of cucumbers, as a besieged city. Except the Lord of hosts had left unto us a very small remnant, we should have been as Sodom, and we should have been like unto Gomorrah, destroyed. So, and I'm not saying Tasmanians are Israelites. I don't know. I haven't done that check. But if they are, they're gone. If they are, they're gone. So Yah left small remnants. Because this would be so bad. It would be so bad that like you gotta die. Like how do you survive this? Okay. Psalms 107. Psalms 107, 27. Psalms 107, 27. They reel to and fro and stagger like a drunken man and are at their wits' end. They reel to, now just look at this. They reel to and fro. and stagger like a drunken man, and are at their wits' end. I can't take it no more. Read some of Black Cargo's book by Mannix. Excellent book. Probably one of my favorite history books. Page 62. We're looking at, let's see here. By then, Holland had firmly established herself in the Guinea coast, and the West India Company had the full support of the government. From 1619 to 1623, the company carried 15,430 slaves to Brazil alone. In 1625, the first Dutch ships were landed in New Amsterdam, and in 1652, the Dutch ship owners in the New World were authorized. Who gave the authorization? The church. Just think about that. The one that authorized this, I now trust with this word. And they identified you by your culture and your customs. And you swap your culture and customs, which were closer to the source, and now you way off deeper in pagan idolatry than what you were before. So they were authorized to trade directly with Africa. When it says the first ships in 1625 landed in New Amsterdam, that's New York. Okay. New Amsterdam New York was owned by the Dutch, and then the Dutch lost, and then James D. York, who was a big shot with the RAC, Royal African Company, company building ships and sending slaves from Africa to here and so forth. So that's how New York got its name. Named after James D. York, a very rich guy with ties, big ties in slavery. So every time you see New York, it's named after James D. York. But the slaves were brought there to New York, not in the South, to New York. Some people say, oh man, there were slaves in New York. You're lying. You're lying. Anyway, so, but the church gave the authorization to do. Church did. Thus saith Yah. Byword. Shenina. Byword. It means taunt, pointed at, or a gib. That's what that means. You know, like The Simpsons laughing, the kids in the cafeteria is laughing, the Arabs are laughing. Deuteronomy 28:37, it reads, and thou shalt become astonishment, a proverb, and a byword. A sheninah among all nations, where the Lord shall sing. Who shall sing you? The Lord. So we established earlier in Deuteronomy 32:26, right? That I will send them, I will scatter them. 2 Chronicles 7:20. Then I will pluck them up by the roots of my land which I have given them, and this house which I have sanctified for my name, will I cast them out of my sight, and I will make them a proverb and a byword among who? All nations. You're going to be a joke. You're going to be the butt of the joke. You're the butt of the joke. Everybody had been picked on before, right? Been cracked on, been joned on, been clowned on, and everywhere you go, you're the butt of the joke. Jeremiah 24:9, and I will deliver them to be removed to all kingdoms. All kingdoms. All kingdoms. All kingdoms of the earth, for their hurt to be a reproach, a proverb, and a taunt. A taunt. A taunt and a curse in all places, whether I shall drive them. Ibn Khaldun, he's a Arab philosopher, explorer, writer. This is what he says. Blacks are the only humans who are closer to dumb animals than to rational beings. Due to the expansion of the animal spirit in them, they are therefore remote from those of human beings and close to those of wild animals. The legacy of Arab Islam and the legacy of Arab Islam in Africa, page 135. He did say all nations too. So all nations going. So it ain't just over here. Everywhere you go. I mean, it's just book. We're just starting to finally connect the dots now. Your story that is not told. 1750, Benjamin Banneker. 1753, the clock. On April of 1789, he predicted a solar eclipse to the day. 1791, almanac completed. 1791, letter to Thomas Jefferson of the Jeffersonians. Created the nation's capital. If you go to D.C. to visit, the monuments, the streets, he did all that. Because the French dude left Washington and Jefferson, he left. And Benjamin Banneker saw it, and he has like a photographic memory, and they laughed. He said, give me 2 days, I'll be back. Because Washington moved the capital right from Philadelphia to Washington, D.C. Okay? So everything you see, so yes, so people that get off into the diagram of D.C. being Masonic, yes it is. And he did it. Just facts. Okay? Boston Massacre, March 5th, 1770. This is what kicked off the revolution. The American Revolution. The first person to get spilled for America was Crispus Attucks. I buy books on purpose about the American Revolution just to see what they say about Crispus Attucks. I just turn to the Boston Massacre and see what they say. A passerby came through. A mulatto came through. A runaway slave. Some fugitive. Well, it's Crispus Attucks. So the very nation that we stand on, the first bloodshed to get everything jump up, the jump-off man was Crispus Attucks. A brother. Shed blood. They wanted to build a statue for him in Massachusetts. But the folks were like, People want to build a statue for him. 1774, Wentworth Cheswell. Who knows who that is? Raise your hand if you heard of Paul Revere.
In my classroom.
Well, you know what? We're going to add this. Paul Revere wasn't alone. Wentworth Cheswell rode the other way. The redcoats are coming. The redcoats are coming. The redcoats are coming. Why didn't they tell us about him too? Why just Paul Revere? But you know, look at these years. We went through all them men. What they say? Man, they're dumb. They're ignorant. They're this. They're this. They're this. But all this is going on. 1775, 10 to 15 blacks. Some of them were slaves, fought the Battle of Bunker Hill in Lexington. Peter Salem poor were honored. So you had free black men and some slaves jumped in and started scrapping. Battle of Bunker Hill. This is for America to get its independence. Then a year later, Declaration of Independence. Multiple question marks. It's like, huh? Bishop Banneker, like, are you serious? I wish I could say it, but I can't. Like, huh? 1781, James Armistead, served in the Continental Army, was the first spy. America defeats Great Britain because they had a spy in their camp. Gave them all the information. And he pretended to be a spy for the British. James Armistead, huge advantage. Okay, they ended up winning that big battle. So your story's not told over here. But I can't have that in your mind. 1790 through 1800, North Carolina slaves' birth rate increased 32%. Somebody turn to Exodus. I don't think that's sunk in. I don't know if that's sunk in. I don't. Turn to Exodus.
Look at this.
Somebody read Exodus 1 and 7. Exodus 1 and 7.
And the children of Israel bore fruit and increased very much, multiplied and became very strong, and the land was filled with them.
Now, somebody read 1 and 12. Exodus 1 and 12.
But the more they uprooted, the more they multiplied and spread. So the Egyptians came to dread the Israelites.
That's why you got to have a eugenics society. So in the 1790, slavery's big. And the birth rate increased 32% of the slaves. I'm going to say it again. The slaves' birth rate increased 32% through 1790 and 1800. The free blacks, there were free blacks, the free blacks increased 46%. The whites' birth rate, 17%. Oh, so it's just like the Bible. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied and grew. In Virginia, the slaves' birth rate was 17.8% increase. The free blacks was 56.4. The whites was 16.2%. That's in the American Negro Slave Revolts, pages 209 through 210. So I'm in slavery, and I'm very fruitful. This caused a problem. So in reality, everything that those doctors and researchers has got, they didn't say anything about this. This artist is 1700s. They didn't talk about the intelligence. They didn't talk about the military heroism. They didn't talk about the fact that man is supposed to just keep reproducing. Matter of fact, if that's the case, I have no right to be superior to you unless I just hate you without a cause. Your story that is not told. The Security Act was about to be passed in South Carolina, and the Security Act was that whites should be armed at all times in the 1700s. There were so many. And what they hide in this is that there was so much fighting of your ancestors. So as to make you think that there was, submissive and not doing nothing and all this stuff. No. 1739, the Stonewall Rebellion in South Carolina. Slaves revolted in South Carolina and they went into Spanish Florida. On the way from South Carolina to Florida, they going through smashing plantations, they going through killing owners, they going through and they're screaming liberty, liberty, liberty. And folks is dropping and jumping in. So you have I'm gonna get there. Slaves revolted in South Carolina. They went in Spanish Florida, because Florida was still owned by Spain then. They attacked plantations, tried liberty, and as they go into the South, this began the Gullah Wars, aka the Seminole Wars. So the Seminole Wars are really just the Gullah Wars. The people from South Carolina. What's Gullah? You ever heard the Gullah Geechee language? What's the most famous word of the Gullah Geechee people? Kumbaya. Kumbaya. Come by, and kum in Hebrew means to what? To be lifted up. Kum. Ba. In. Come here. Yah. So this began the Gullah Wars, aka Seminole Wars. After this, South Carolina passed the Negro Act. So it became harder laws and less freedom for slaves, right? Mm-hmm. Well, what do we know about in, that was North Carolina. So, but people still reproducing, that was North Carolina, South Carolina, but so I ain't gonna try to make that fit anyway to say. Spain had control of Florida, so what the Spanish did, they gave weapons and a little training to the Gullah warriors. So now these brothers in Florida fought against the state militia. They began to build towns and communities. This was going on. All right, we know who Andrew Jackson is, right? He's on your $20 bill, right? He was also the 7th U.S. president. He was a general at this time. He defeated the Native American Creek Confederation in 1814 at the Battle of Horseshoe. Long story short, the chiefs and his soldiers or warriors went into Florida and they joined the Gullah. So the Seminoles, which is just means runaway, but the blacks and these Native Americans hooked up. They were fighting side by side for a long time. Now, if somebody could, well, I guess I got it written down already. So this was a major problem. Major problem. The Gullah decided, there was a 1816, Andrew Jackson attacked a fort. It was an old British fort. The Gullah people had it, but they were like stationary. So the Andrew Jackson, they defeated them at that fort. And the Gullah decided not to fight like Europeans, but to continue in their guerrilla warfare tactics. Who else used guerrilla warfare tactics we talked about a couple months ago? Go ahead. Who was it?
I can't remember off the top.
I just read out of Maccabees. So the Maccabees fighting against
The Greek.
the Syrians and the Greeks. Yes, very good. So they use guerrilla warfare tactics. Okay, this isn't new. Haitian Revolution, whether they use guerrilla warfare tactics. So we see the characteristics, right? Because they use, never mind. 1818, the Battle of Suwanee. It was the Suwanee River in Florida. Colonies of Gullah Native Americans. Long story short, Andrew Jackson comes down. They pushed him back. Andrew Jackson's mad. And he goes off to a local town or small settlement and kills all the women and children. Sound familiar though, don't it? Down at Antiochus Epiphanes did. This is a quote from General Thomas Jessup. Throughout my operations, I found the Negroes, the active and determined warriors, and during the conferences with the Indian chief, I ascertained that they exercised an almost controlling influence over them. This is a Negro war, not an individual war, General Thomas Jessup, in regards to the Gullah Wars or the Seminole Wars. Yeah, no, Indian, yeah. So this is actual history that you'll never hear about. So all this is going on while all them other guys saying all that stuff and they're this and they're that. These folks they got their own army, they got their own stuff in Florida. Folks are trying to break camp, trying to get to Florida. Your story is not told. 1791, 1804, Haitian Revolution. That's how America gets Louisiana Purchase. They bought it from the French. Okay, 1800 in Virginia, Gabriel Prosser. Then these are revolts, big slave revolts. 1822, South Carolina, Denmark Vesey had 9,000 slaves ready to roll. One snitch down the mountain, like a day before it's supposed to go down. 9,000 ready to roll. One snitch down the mountain. 1831 in Virginia, Nat Turner. 1859, Virginia, John Brown. Captain John Brown was a white dude. Simeon and Levi brothers. Their swords are implements of violence. Just 49 and 5. I had a dream years ago where I was talking to a man of renown, an old man, and the old man kept telling me over and over and over. He said that the Seminoles are Simeon in Florida. I'm talking about whatever I'm talking about. The Seminoles are Simeon in Florida. I keep on talking. The Seminoles are Simeon in Florida. And it was the third time I recognized this is somebody. So I don't think it's the irony of the Gullah breaking camp and the runaway Native Americans or the Seminoles fighting together. I don't think that's, And a remnant of Jacob shall be among the Gentiles in the midst of many as a lion among the beasts of the forest, as a young lion among the flocks of the sheep, who have go through, both treaded down and tear to pieces, and none can deliver. Micah 5:8. So the children of Israel, the children of Jacob among the Gentiles, they can fight their behinds off. They can fight their behinds off. Okay. Judah, thou art whom thy brethren shall praise, thy hand shall be in the neck of his enemies, thy father's children shall bow down before thee. Judah is a lion's whelp from a pay. My son, thou art gone up. When he stooped down, he cut down as a lion, as an old lion. Who shall rouse him up? This is a quote from Hebrews in the West Africa. They were distinguished from all other slaves by their courage, firmness, and impatience of control, characteristics which caused numerous mutiny on ships and in the West Indies. Hebrews in the West Africa, page 9, talking about the Koromotes, were also called the Ashanti, the people of Ashan, where some of us probably have blood linking back to. Okay. Thus saith Yah, Mercies endureth forever. For I am the Lord. I change not. Why is that important? Therefore, you sons of Jacob are not consumed. Malachi 3 and 6. So, point being, the things that Yah had happened, or was a cause of what happened, of how we got here, was so bad, he had to keep us alive. Okay. Upper Guinea. From there to North America, there was a 12.6 death rate. 12.6%. That don't sound like a lot. Okay. All right. If there were 125,000 that was on those ships, 15,750 are going to die. I'm going to say it again. If there was 125,000 that made this trip, 15,750 will die. From the Gold Coast and by the Benin to North America, 12.9% death rate. Out of 125,000, 16,125 will not make it. By the Biafra to North America, 29% death rate. So out of 125,000, there will be 36,250 die. For I am Yah, I change not. Therefore, the sons of Jacob are not consumed. From West Central Africa to North America, 16.7% death rate. Out of 125,000, 20,875 will not make it. A minimum over 2 million captives died during the Middle Passage. These statistics were provided by the Atlas of Atlantic Slave Trade. And a lot of people, this is just an approximate. So it's probably more. Point being is that it was so bad, it was so hard, it was so inhumane that Yah had to keep people alive. They're talking about human population and supreme genetics. To survive that, to make it on the passage, to get on the land, to survive and still live, and then to have offspring. So for people to be here today, thus saith the Lord my God, feed the flock of the slaughter, whose possessors slay them, and hold themselves not guilty, whose possessors slay them, and hold themselves not guilty, whose possessors slay them, and hold themselves not guilty, whose possessors slay them, and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich. They that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich. They that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich. And their own shepherds pity them not. Zechariah 11, 4 through 5. That's book. So they're rich. Read some to you. This is in Black Cargoes again, page 198. In 1847, the Ashanti were selling able-bodied men for $10. Now, 1847, $10 is a lot of money. That's a lot of money, 1847. The price of an old musket. So you think today to buy a gun, you're going to spend at least a bill 50, $225. You're going to spend for, okay. The same men delivered in Cuba might bring them at the time $625 each. I bought you for $10 and I sold you for $625. I used to sell weed. That's a lick. I got X amount of pounds for the price of one, and I got to flip the pounds. Whose possessors slay them and hold themselves not guilty, and they that sell them say, blessed be the Lord, for I am rich. But who is he talking about? See, at some point, you can't play dumb. Just to the children of Israel, you can't play dumb. More precious than gold and ivory. Why would I say that? What was on the West Coast? The West Coast is called what? The Gold Coast, the Ivory Coast, and became